What the actors disclosed after many years reveal an entirely different. Let's return to the location of the illumination. With artificial lighting and actual ocean waves to discover the mysteries concealed behind the Black Pearl, a mythical ship. Johnny, in an official interview, Depp once stated that Jack Sparrow's majority of his careless and unpredictable temperament was never a feature of the initial script. He revealed, "I didn't want Jack to be merely inebriated. Height had to be someone with acting skills, with fate and consistently perplex people." The crew both lost that independence, astonished and nervous as usual. Depp brought something surprising that nobody had anticipated, could predict. Orlando Bloom remembered he frequently had to retake takes. He was laughing uncontrollably. You never be aware of Johnny's next words. Each and every scene is a fresh experience. Gore, the director later Verbinski acknowledged that nobody could have created Jack's character except for Johnny Depp. Sparrow, he created the whole team keeps the cameras going continuously since nobody was aware of when there would be a wonderful moment. Among them was the first time Jack appeared in the Corsethi Black Pearl. As stated by the character in the original script was just expected to disembark from the ship and dock, but Depp suggested the ship would gradually sink as Jack was erect on the pole. The scene filmed without the aid of artificial effects, on actual water, and Depp did it himself. That moment, which was both amusing and tragedy, turned into the ideal prefacado, the representation of a rational maniac. Emblem of contemporary film. Another illustration was the inebriated Jack and Will's chat, the Forge's Turner. Depp nearly threw away the initial conversation, substituting improvised lines for it. "It would be unfortunate, then, to place your rig has a black mark, so please excuse him." Orlando Bloom struggled to keep a straight face and avoid spoiling the moment. Verbinski remembered he was going to midway through the call, but chose to let the camera continues to roll because everything's felt so natural, so authentic, that Jack Sparrow came to life through improvisation. And erratic that viewers thought he wasn't a fictional character, but a genuine individual. Behind those moments of creativity were productive circumstances that are uncommon in Hollywood. The technical team found that a lot of saltwater scenes were filmed in extremely hot conditions. Over 40 miles with high winds and waves so large that apparatus needed to be fastened to the deck using straps. In Dead Man, the scene of combat on the enormous wheel was actually filmed on the Montua, Petton's Dominican Hills. Then a mouse wooden prop that weighs a number of tons continued to slide off its foundation. Almost 2 stunt performers were hurt. The Verbinski stated that when filming outside, each something might go wrong. The wind changed, the water rose, and the lights transformed in a matter of minutes while filming. The team had to improvise, since there was never a shot that could be replicated in likewise. Accidents continued. There. While filming the third movie in the Caribbean, the team had to deal with an unforeseen tropical storm. A boat of supplier carrying props went overboard. Thankfully none was injured, but every piece of equipment was soggy, requiring a halt in production for 3 days. Depp, Johnny, who was on Thailand at the moment, assisted some crew members return supplies to the coast. Following the event, Disney placed an order for a committed safety group for the whole project and needed a minimum of 1 medical expert. Must be on hand on a filming vessel. Producer Geoffrey later Bruckheimer described it as an expensive inspection that completely transformed the studio's water-based action safety protocol mavies. In addition to the actual difficulties, mental strain were get significantly throughout the editing process. Editor Stephen Rivkin claims that Disney requested that numerous scenarios with political, religious, or satire that is philosophical. A monologue by Jack regarding Depp's release and death took pride in being removed from the theatrical vision. "I understood," Depp remembered, the cause, "but I still regretted it. It was evident from the scene that Jack have no fear of dying. All he feared lies in the ability to make his own decisions to pass away." Furthermore, a debate scenario concerning the soul between Barbassa and Jack of a Pirate was cut almost in half to lessen the tone of philosophy. A large crew participants acknowledged that the rigorous censorship process helped them understand the distinction between ore and studio film. According to Verbinski, "We couldn't keep how we desired, but occasionally nevertheless, cuts produced a better rhythm." For the performers, particularly Depp, their removed scenes were still an essential component of the process of creation. Once, he inquired, Disney will make the complete version available, but the plan was never carried out. Behind the laughter and bold behavior revealed a deeper layer at which unrestricted creativity started to clash with the limits of authority and trade. Authority and artistic freedom. If the initial portion made the improvisation and hazards that occur in the background, this section plunges into a more profound current. The conflicts of creativity among the actors, the Disney and the director. It was no longer about some bold situations, but a confrontation between the independence of the arts and the commercial machinery, where each choice could change the pirate's soul. Of the Caribbean. From the first Disney execs, Johnny Depp's flick convened urgent meetings due to his Jack Sparrow's characterization was entirely not what they had originally envisioned. Depp entered the room during the audition. The set features an impressively lengthy gait, speech and free motion startled people to assume he was intoxicated. According to a studio executive, they answer questioned if viewers would even comprehend this character. Later, in a 2003 interview, Depp confirmed, "I wasn't acting inebriated." Jack notices Thewald as a farce, and he only acts as though intoxicated to conceal the fact that he's keeping an eye on everything. Director Johnny Depp was defended by Verbinski, stating that if they decided to pick him, they have to acknowledge his distinctiveness. Because of indomitable resolve, the spirit of Jack Sparrow stayed intact, magnetic, quirky, funny, and thought. When the movie debuted and went above and above, later, numerous Disney executives acknowledged they were mistaken to have doubted Depp, as Disney reinforced its grip as the sequel started authority over the portrayal of Jack Sparrow. A light was pushed for by the studio, tone that is family-friendly. But Johnny Depp wished to expose the more sinister price of Jack's liberty. Producer Jerry, according to Bruckheimer, Johnny wanted Jack to be less humorous and more nuanced, but were needed to keep him inside limits, so the film remained entertaining. A lot of Depp scenes that were improvised were cut or revised. Incorporating scenes from Dead Jack's remorse is displayed on the man's chest for betraying his crew. Orlando Bloom, as well as Keira Knightley, had to deal with their own difficulties. They wished for Will and Elizabeth to develop past Jack's orbit. In 2007, Keira stated, "We suggested a more compelling conclusion for, however, the studio desired a simpler, more commercially viable outcome." Bloom acknowledged feeling unsteady as Jack's part started to take over the narrative. Depp was blamed by both perceived it as evidence that the company had surpassed the Ted Elliott, the screenwriter, disclosed each movie has 3 scripts versions, 1 humorous, 1 somber and 1 balanced for Disney to choose. Jack was constantly described as exhausted, torn by, he shouted, freedom, but the studio tended to choose the lighter variant. Days passed during script meetings, as character and tone were discussed indefinitely. Eventually, director Gore Verbinski even stopped the movie to determine if Jack was still the same Jack. The audience adored it. The procedure turned into a zealot conflict between the filmmakers looking for nuance and a studio protecting its billion-dollar formula. Following the third movie, which ended with worlds and huge profits, a new era started. Disney officially adopted Jack Sparrow as its worldwide asset. Each and every costume, detail, and the conversation was tightly controlled since they had an impact on the brand and its selling products. Depp agreed to a record-breaking deal, but eventually lost the ability to be innovative. An experienced technician disclosed that prior to Depp might alter the conversation or improvise. On location, however, following the third movie, each modification need permission from this stringent oversight made that there is a notably creative vibe on set, heavier and more limited. Not only Depp but additional participants were also impacted. Barbossa actor Geoffrey Rush, once having to wait for permission for about 2 weeks. Must refilm a little segment due to the studio was afraid the villain would frighten too many kids. He thought that once when a movie turns into a brand, it is no longer director's playground or every choice is impacted by severe forces. When Dead Men Don't Tell Stories was made available, nearly the full original, there was a change in the creative staff. Disney wished to revitalize the brand, which additionally required deleting the majority of the original spirit of liberty. Depp at the time encountered both public and personal pressure along with significant interference from the studio. He can allege that at the time, "I thought I was being ignored." The scene in which when Jack approached Salazar, it was first composed to be reflective and serene. However, the final draft was changed to a brief humorous segment that fits Disney's well-known formula. However, even as discussion shaped often, the crew maintained the actors persisted and show up together in advertisements and occurrences, always discussing music. According to Bruckheimer, this was the most bizarre thing he had ever seen. Worked on. Everyone desired to take action. In their own manner. The outcome was strangely in harmony. That professionalism maintained at the franchise's demise under strong audience and media pressure. The consequences of such battles were distinctly displayed on the screen. Comparing from the first movie to subsequent ones, audience may observe Jack Sparrow's slow declinious, impulsive insanity, growing more calculating, tired and cynical. Subplots were cut, and the narrative motion and visuals more effects to guarantee entertaining value. This indicated the beginning of commercialization. Was altering not just the movie's path, its original, the spirit and its structure. Those minor adjustments were not permanent. The camera, but permeated each shot. The series then started to disappear. Complex symbolism and distinctive themes representing the essence of liberty and mystery in the pirate world. Unspoken traces. As Johnny Depp famously stated, Jack is neither a villain nor a hero. He is merely attempting to live in a world where there is a cost to freedom. That sentence and it just the character's ideology, as well as the artistic compass for the whole crew. Because of this, each prop, the hat, the compass, and even the bottle of rum served as a representation of the inner self of Jack Sparrow, a man walking the boundary between fate and freedom. The Jack's soul is best represented by a compass, made to indicate the direction he wanted to go most. It demonstrated his integrity and inner struggle when he contemplated presenting it to the quivering needle showed Elizabeth his struggle between liberty and survival. Jack's battered hat held equal. Every time he snapped, there were repercussions. Taking it back following the Kraken attack, survival son's conceit. Each rip and discoloration a recollection of the lessons acquired. Rum, wind, and sea were recurrent themes. Jack was hanging when a tremendous burst of wind suggested the change in fate. Subsequently reverberating in that world's end, he encountered innumerable his own reflections. Editor Stephen Rifkin clarified that the group desireth viewer to believe that every version of Jack was a breeze unlike any other. Representing the options he still had. Behind, in that order. The noise of the wind and waves were elegantly layered. Turning into a subliminal language that expressed feelings without using words. Keith Richards' brief appearance as Jack's dad turned into among the most talked about occasions. Depp acknowledged that he imitated Jack's movements. On Richards and honor him by casting him. Keith's real name is Jack. They're a quick look, a silent toast, and though the sound of rum glasses clinking indicated that Jack inherited his insanity from our bells in front of him. Additionally, the movie deepened by the use of mythology. Davy Jones, Jack's dark mirror represented the cost of authority. His damned heart and hideous shape revealed the degradation of a guy who gave up his freedom for industrial lights. John Knoll and Magic claimed that Jones's design was inspired by Norse legends about souls being eaten by his writhing tentacles and dejected. His face turned into a vast ocean of agony and myth combined into one. When Jones made a cut, his heart was taken, removed, and secured in a chest, in addition to extending his life. Additionally, a metaphor for his soul's demise by giving up freedom for authority. Every time the audio slowed when the chest appeared, and the blue-gray lights changed. Intentional method to make viewers feel quiet and frigid. In contrast to Jack's mess, visual and oral design strengthened this symbolic structure. The competent supervisor of Christopher Boydman stated that in every supernatural he added sub-bass frequencies to the scene. Below 30 Hz frequencies that are inaudible to Thea, but the body senses it. It creates the audience uneasy for no apparent reason. In the scene of the Kraken confrontation, this every time darkness grew, sound emerged, establishing an emotional foundation, though the camera also evolved into a tool for storytelling. Anytime Jack told lies, the frame slanted, just a little. When he was honest, it regained equilibrium. It was the director's method of illustrating Jack's internal struggle. A man who was always swaying between dishonesty and truthfulness, between living and acting. Even the illumination held a personal significance. The warm orange glow in the early films of sunset frequently encircled Jack. The light is a sign of transient freedom before to dusk. By the third movie, the hue changed to icy blues, demonstrating the character's fatigue and isolation following a string of betrayals and loss. Cinematographer Volsky Darius Jack doesn't age. It was once remarked, but the light in the world around him runs out. This change in appearance demonstrated that the show wasn't only providing untally of adventure, but also a voyage of maturation by gloom. These little, although frequently disregarded, details are Pirates of the Caribbean's motivation stays clear in the audience's mind. Each sign, the hat, the compass, the rum drop acts as a metaphor for a man who is trying to figure himself out in the middle of the wide ocean. Jack's deception is not only misleading people, but also testing if he has any remaining beliefs. He lifts his glass. But it's not a toast, but a final goodbye to a portion of his. Every sound and action becomes a chapter in a man's journal who bears both liberty and penalty inside of himself. Depp once said it this way, with a single brief line: Jack's lifestyle is similar to he cannot be held by anyone, not even the crucial line for viewers to comprehend the Halith series' symbolic framework. What happens when the layers of symbols become silent? What's left are not merely movie reels, but a living mythology in the minds of the viewers. But from that point forward, the Pirates of the Caribbean moves into a new phase in which puts that mythology to the test. The trip following the 2003 wave when the Black Pearl's curse debuted with the Fifth Dead Men movie, Don't Tell Any Stories. The team made more than $4.5 billion United States dollars globally, placing it among the most successful film ever made. Its significance cannot be described by numbers alone. A classical resurgence was started by Pirates Hollywood trend and changed the concept of a hero who is imperfect, unsure, and moralic. The brand and the character developed become an empire of culture. The Pirates off Disneyland's Caribbean ride, attracting millions annually. Sales teens from the Black Pearl ship models and pirate attire to Captain Jack Rumrose. Anytime there were reports of new movies appeared. From 2006 to 2012, revenue from merchandising came to over $1.8 billion United States dollars, demonstrating the brand's success. As much through culture as through film. Theories also altered the perception of pirates in popular culture. Formerly viewed as cruel and unclean, pirates turned into emblems of liberty and disobedience. Success after the first movies, Peter Pan and other Creed for Uncharted and Black Flag stole the tone of its story and ethical. Jack inspired blurring characters spot. Since 2020, Disney has investigated the franchise has three options: air launch with a fresh ensemble, a prequel concerning Jack's beginnings, or an independent Black the Cosmos of Pearl. There were test scripts created, including one enacted to Margot Robbie, an actress, but the project was put on hold. Disney continues to take into pirates are a tactical advantage, sure to come back when the time is right. Market information valid the longevity of the franchise. Everyone rumors of a sixth movie cause spikes in Disney Plus perspectives, particularly in the Europe and the US. Worldwide fan communities continue to be engaging in scenarios and hosting come back to the screenings in the Caribbean, demonstrating that viewers aren't prepared to leave the globe. That is the essence of adventure. Fourth, initial cast. Their connection endures. Geoffrey Rush promised to come back. F. Barbas's tale took on significance beyond. Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley referred to pirates as an unrepeatable element of youth. Following the trial in 2022, when asked if he would return, Johnny Depp, "Jack will always have a place to call home. Within me. He's the most liberated thing I've ever had." That statement sums up how the serious soul remains bound to its maker. Pirates of the Caribbean, as a film, demonstrated that commercial films made it of art. Behind the scenes and therein lies a philosophy of liberty.